Of the Oh No Wrestling Podcast. My name is Owen. I am your Sharp Break Kid. Along with me tonight, as always, is my good friend Duncan, the King of Bong Style. And back with us for the first time in a couple weeks. We're super excited to have him back because he's a member of our family. Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew, the modern day Mataraja. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. We're back.
Happy to be back.
Yeah.
Happy to be back, boys. They say the cream always rises to the top, but the Mataraja always comes back to Oh No Wrestling.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. And I dare say that we have a lot of interesting and fun stuff to talk about today. Yeah. I don't really know how to start this without getting straight into probably one of my favorite comedy wrestling events of all time. Jesus Christ, Talknshop Mania, buddies. Buddies!
What am I gonna do? Probably the worst fucking pay-per-view you're ever gonna see.
Yeah.
I thought everything about it from the moment it started, when they had them, you know, on their Zoom meeting talking and just saying, listen, Gallo says, you know, I watched it last night sober, then I went and got a bottle of fucking truck stop cab or whatever. He's like drinking. He's like, it was a lot better because I thought it was shit after the first time I watched it sober. So they're like, listen, go drink, do whatever the fuck it is you got to do to get on the level to fucking watch this and enjoy it, because this is some bullshit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I actually took that to heart, and I was like,
and you couldn't have been more right.
I'm gonna step outside. I'm gonna smoke some weed, a little more weed. I was like, I'm gonna like pound 2 beers to like get this buzz like ramped up, and I was like, then I'm gonna fucking hit play and crack another cold one.
Well, I actually purposely did the Ono radio show earlier in the day. I wasn't able to do it on Thursday for reasons that you'll just have to listen to the Ono radio show to find out. But I ended up doing the show on Saturday, and I was like, boys, can we maybe do the show at like 5 o'clock? Like, I know that's weird, but I kind of got something I really don't want to miss.
And really need to do something.
Yeah, it's super important. And lo and behold, so I got a little buzzkey going on before, you know, the event just by doing the show, and then of course had to crack a couple more while it was going on. I had Teresa watch the whole thing with me, and I would say it was just 90 minutes of almost pissing myself laughing, because
just the fact that they like even would start something and then just completely stop it and just
abandon
be like,
it.
That was fucking bullshit. Just stop. Forget that ever happened.
Sorry about that. Like, Jesus Christ.
It was
like,
fucking hilarious.
It was everything that, like, it was everything you expected it to be, right? Like, it was every sort of, like, this is the most ridiculous bullshit I've ever seen. You got a Ric Flair impersonator.
Yep.
You got a fucking... You know what I mean?
Every time he did it,
in the same hold for like
all the way around the
headlock
property,
everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was great. And even how bad Enzo's promo was.
Yeah.
So bad.
Bad.
I was just
hilarious.
like, you know that he, like, I used to think that he was better on the mic than that. Maybe I was wrong the whole time.
I wonder if that was just like a funny work. Like, he's good on the mic usually, but it's like
That's what I think it was.
Be shitty, man. Like, just be shitty, you know?
That's what I think it was. I think it was go out there and cut
kind
a
of fuck it up.
Promo.
And
cut
also,
a bad
and
promo
also,
like you're doing a bad promo.
Yeah, and also, like, sort of, because he alluded to the fact that Sex Ferguson was winning the match, and he kind of said, like, I hope I didn't give away the finish or something along those lines. So even the fact that he did that, I felt was like, it's kind of lending towards what you're saying.
Yeah, I thought that. I think so. He did look. I mean, he didn't look in fighting shape. I'll tell you that.
He looked a little more portly than I've known.
He looked a lot
like more
portly.
Right, I've got the whitest fucking Canadian pale ass skin you've ever seen in your entire life. I take my shirt off and it's like I'm fucking sending SOS signals and shit. You know, to the way the sun reflects off. But I even looked at his leg. I was like, the fuck are those white poles sticking down? I was like, I think this guy used to be in shape, kind of, I thought, but whatever. I don't know. I thought that was good. We didn't get the fuck's his name? Cass. We didn't get that.
No.
But I mean,
no.
You know, I thought that was, I kind of wanted it, but his promo was still funny enough. I also thought it was funny, and I forget who they did it with. It was like in the first match, I think, and then they had Stang come out instead of Sting, and he's like beware of copyright or gimmick infringement.
Yeah.
Points to the back.
It was Heath, by the way. That was Stang. Yeah, it was definitely Heath.
They toted the line, I think, on what they were allowed to do. They like walked that fucking tightrope on what they were allowed to do and what they weren't allowed to do. Like, even fucking well.
The Flair impersonator. I mean, he still had Nature Boy written on the back of his robe, like, and the woo on the car, and you know, like. I was a little bit surprised that they pushed that boundary, you know, so hard. I feel like there's a couple more in there too that, like, they could have probably gotten in trouble for, but it remains to be seen. I haven't heard anything, you know, negative about it yet, and I feel like, quite frankly, the reception seems like it's been better than they could have ever imagined. Duncan, you sent me that tweet the following day from Carl Anderson. Just what was it? It was pretty simple, right? It was
it's like fuck Talknshop, hashtag Talknshop Mania 2.
Right.
It was pretty much all it was. It was just fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
we're gonna have fuck. You're making me do this again, because the buy rates were probably so good that it justified it, I would assume.
They captured like this thing that you can find on like High Spots and that Colt Cabana would do, and like the $5 wrestling and all these other kind of things where they'll do commentary over really shit wrestling.
And that was half the fun. Like,
and I think
that's them
like
just pissing themselves laughing at everything that was going on.
Exactly. Yeah. It was almost like they didn't know that they had booked it.
Right.
And maybe they just let them, you know what I mean? Like, they might
you figure it out.
Couple of things. Yeah, you figure it out.
I thought it was funny. So to your point, like, there was one moment where Brian Pillman Jr. he actually was wrestling and doing some moves. I don't know exactly who it was with, and they're like, oh, we actually got some spots here, you know, like, like there's actually some wrestling happening.
Actual wrestling.
Was it him and Rocky under the mask? Like,
it might have been him and Rocky. I will say that, so I found this article on the Sports Illustrated, and to your point, Duncan, about maybe they forgot they booked it. So Rocky is quoted as saying, let's see. So the Boneyard match is a cinematic masterpiece. There's so many jokes poking fun at wrestling, ourselves, and others. Most of us got in the night before we started filming. I went to my hotel, then arrived at 8 the next morning for our call time. That's when Carl let me know that Gallows was nowhere to be found. He told me the big man had been up drinking until 4:30 in the morning and no one could wake him up. When his wife finally woke him up, she said, Carl and Rocky are here waiting for you. Gallows asked, why are they here? She told him we were at his house for a pay-per-view he had booked in his backyard, and he said, that's today? So this almost didn't happen, but that's how it goes at Talknshop Mania.
Whether that's true or not, I love it, and I can totally see it being true as well.
I can see it being true, and I can see Rocky working us in either way. I'm okay with it, and I'm here for it.
I'm fine with it. I loved the commentary thing, like you said, Duncan, because it almost came off like a riff track more than it did commentary.
Yeah, an MST3K kind of thing.
Yeah.
I definitely I love that that's sort of where we are with professional wrestling right now. Like, you can take it seriously or you can take the piss out of it. And that's
and you can have both. You can have both.
You can have both. You can have both. And I think that the fact that they booked this immediately after they got fired, right? Like, immediately. Like, Gallows got off the phone, right, essentially, and was just like, okay, fuck
what
it.
What am I gonna do?
That's what he says in this Sports Illustrated article. Gallows says, and quote, "My frustration turned to a creative release almost immediately after I got that phone call. Not a very big I'm not a big rear view mirror guy. The goal was to keep pushing forward, and we hit the ground running with this crazy pay-per-view." And then Anderson says there's so much good stuff we did on Southpaw that was cut, and they only released the boring stuff. That's an example of how frustrated we were creatively, but I think people are going to find this really funny.
Can you imagine those tapes are? Oh.
Hashtag release Southpaw.
Yeah.
Free Southpaw. I don't know, something we need, because like, oh my God, like, Southpaw Regional Wrestling may be the greatest thing that WWE had done. And maybe
it's close.
Maybe it's super close.
It really is.
It's perfection is what it is. Is like, as a wrestling fan, like, everything I want in wrestling is Southpaw, and there's no wrestling in it.
Not a single drop.
Not a lariato, not a big boot, not a nothing. And dude, like, if there is so much good shit that they cut, I just, come on, WWE, put it on the network. Don't even tell us about it. Let us find it.
Yeah, no kidding. And what better time to do it as well? Like, if they want to have their own poke back at, Talknshop and Mania from doing so well, and Gallows and Anderson going to Impact, you've got it right there. Just put it out. Put it out.
They're not gonna poke back at it.
Probably not.
That's punching down to WWE.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like a bunch of the boys tweeted about it, right? Like, and they were just like, "This is the worst shit I've ever seen in my life." Like, from WWE, NXT, AEW, like, everybody on Twitter was just like, "What the fuck?"
But it was supposed to be.
I know, exactly. And they were keeping up with it, right? Like, everybody's in on the fucking rib is what it's supposed to be.
And even Jericho, I'm not sure if you saw the video that he posted.
Oh, the video, absolutely.
Yeah, like the day of or the day before.
Yeah, that was a good fucking promo.
It was cool that he did that. That's something he didn't have to do.
Yeah, that wasn't something he had to do.
But as good as 3/4 of Talknshop of Mania was, let's talk about how great the last 20
the Grande La Resistance, it's a masterpiece.
Oh, it is.
It's a masterpiece.
It's the Sistine Chapel of cinematic wrestling. It is
the boner yard.
Well, I loved that they fucking spent, like, when I was watching, like, the clock and, like, watching how much time was left, and then it was like, oh, your main event's coming up. I was like, yes, this is perfect. They're going to give this the right amount of time that they need, which they 100% did.
It's probably about the same length as the Boneyard match.
What they did was that they decided to do the Boner Yard match and make it the same length of time. And I cannot be confirmed on this, and I cannot be denied on this. But I believe that, man, it's fucking hard to talk like Taker like that.
Yeah, no
that
kidding.
Long shit. But I think that maybe if we looked at it, it's got to be super close to the length of time.
It was like 25 minutes or 27,
and just a little,
I want to say.
All the little pokes at it, I will never not piss myself when fucking Anderson goes into the fucking dirt pile and he looks at the arm and he goes, Uncle Alan, why didn't you help us in New York? I know you tried. That's why the fat man lied to you. That's why you left. That's why you moved shows.
There's so many lines. There's so many lines in it. I mean, just from the get-go, where I saw the
karate shit. That's what I do.
it's karate.
Which I don't even know if that's like poking fun at like WWE bringing in like MMA and shit, or like what we're gonna get to Raw Underground and the type of shit like that happened on that. But like now that more I've thought about it, I'm like, was that just like was it just a one-off fucking joke, or was he actually deeper in it? That he's like it's karate shit. It's what I do. And
if we looked for meaning, we could find it. I think that it was just a fucking
off the cuff remark that just kind of came.
It was the best. Yeah. It was my favorite off the cuff remark of the entire night.
Oh, I loved it. And I mean, just from the get-go, the fact that, you know, this hearse rolls up and out. I said to Teresa, they're gonna drop that casket. You watch me. They're gonna drop that. And right as soon as I said it, you
get out of here.
Like, get the fuck out of here. Get into the woods, druids. Like that whole time. Just from the get, like you knew what you were getting as well, and you knew it was going to be as ridiculous as all that. I loved that it was like so shitty in like the fake cardboard gravestones, and like they put a piece of like
a pile of dirt in his front yard.
Yep.
Like it wasn't like they were doing the wide shots and like aerials from up above. It's just like a pile
drone
of
shot and showed how shitty it was.
And then you got like Heath and like who was it laying in the lawn chair?
Who was it?
Hawkins, Brian Myers.
Yeah, Hawkins. Yeah.
Brian Myers,
and they're just hilarious.
And then like
the gimmick table later on with the Rock and Roll Express and Enzo, of course.
Dude, it just like how all those little in things, and then just like he's just like, I just want to be babyface. I just maybe get an IC run. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe get an IC run.
It's just like all of the shit, and just how like them calling each other out about it's just like God damn, you're stiff as hell. Yeah, I got fired. I forgot how to work.
Yeah. I'm gonna talking about him, how he's gonna fuck up his $2,500 hearse because he's getting
I'm fucking up a $25 hearse that I bought on eBay. And then when they did the sit up and look at each other like Brock and the Undertaker,
and he does the laugh. It couldn't have been better. It couldn't have been better. And to anybody that doesn't get it, you don't understand, I think, what wrestling is in 2020, because quite frankly, if you can't laugh at it, if you're a Cornette out there, like if Cornette is still alive, by the way, like has anybody again
multiple heart attacks?
Yeah.
I think I've managed to eliminate all of the Cornette talk from my circle of like media intake.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't see any, but
yeah,
I don't really either.
No, but it's just like you say, the state of wrestling in 2020, right? Like the typical shit that we're used to seeing doesn't work. So you have to take chances, right?
Yep.
Like some chances are direct kind of spoofs on other things, and some are, I won't say completely new ideas, because Raw Underground is definitely like a concept.
We'll get there. I
know, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think that traditional wrestling in the sense of let's do long cinematic or long storytelling matches is gonna work without a real live crowd to actually like propel it. They need to be short, they need to be able to kind of hold your attention. You got a couple of high spots, like until there's crowds again, I don't think we're gonna see the kind of wrestling that we're necessarily traditionally used to. Take Japan. New Japan is doing what they do because they have fans.
Yeah.
And it can work.
Smaller audiences, obviously, because they're treating it with respect.
Sure, but they
still have somebody in the audience, and they
still have actual
fans.
It
makes a huge difference for all these pops that you're either getting or not getting. And
right.
And yeah, when it comes to just like wrapping up the whole Talknshop of Mania thing, It gave me everything that I kind of it. Even though it's not Southpaw, it had all the elements of if Southpaw were to do a show, it felt like that would be kind of the show to begin with. It gave me it gave me a little bit of what I missed about that whole series, and what I was so disappointed when, of course, Gallows and Anderson were let go. I was like, well, season 3 of Southpaw, which they had teased, that's probably not going to be happening. And if it does, is it even the same Southpaw at that point? Because it isn't really, is it? Without the two of them. So yeah, it gave me everything I needed from a silly wrestling pay-per-view, and even to see Willy Mac on there and them giving him some love.
Because literally the last Rocky Mountain Pro show I went to before quarantine and everything happened, Willy was there. And he was fucking wrestling like a motherfucker, hitting stunners, everything, dude. He was in there fucking things up.
He's my new boy. I knew
he's a big boy, but he's older too, but he could still fucking work and he could still move, man.
Yeah, man.
And so when I saw him, I actually popped real fucking hard because I was like, he was at the last Rocky Mountain Pro fucking, it was fucking amazing. That's
awesome.
When I saw that, I was like, are you fucking joking me? He made it all the way to Georgia.
He was at every bar. Yeah, he was well, no, he lives in Southern California. Because he was at every bar wrestling I saw. And
he was. I mean, he was what he did do Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. He did
Lucha Underground.
He did Lucha Underground. I think he did Lucha Underground after he got signed to WWE. I think in 2014-15, and then it was real quick release, and then went to Lucha. Yeah,
I would assume he probably just stayed in town, or got to town before Slammiversary when they shot it, and then stayed in town. And then drove to Tennessee, where they obviously did Slammiversary, and because I think it was shot before Slammiversary from what I've heard. It was.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
he won. Yeah. He was. Oh fuck! He was a NWA North American champion. He was
NWA too.
Yeah, I think he was the inaugural, maybe. He won. I'm picturing him with some fucking belt.
Right.
But Willy Mac, yeah, I fucking love Willy Mac.
Yeah, he was brand new to me, honestly. Just from Slammiversary, I'll admit it. I had no idea who the fucking guy was.
So he was started 2006, PWG 2010, 2014, WWE signing 2014, and then Lucha Underground 2015, 2018, Impact Wrestling teaming with
Was
Rich
he under
Swann.
a mask in Lucha Underground?
I don't think so.
No.
No, he was wrestled under the nickname the Mac.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was just himself.
Okay.
Yeah, and so he didn't win the championship. Let's see, is it? So then he went to Impact 2018 to 2020. He was teaming with Rich Swann. X Division champion 2020 to present, National Wrestling Alliance 2018 to 2019. So he's got let's see, House of Hardcore championship. He's got championship wrestling from Hollywood, the Crash Lucha Libre. He's got Lucha Underground. He was the Trios championship 2 times with Dante Fox and Killshot. And Killshot and Son of Havoc. So he was NWA National Champion 1 time.
I think Killshot was Killer Cross, and fucking Son of Havoc is Mad Dog Matt Cross.
Okay. And SoCal Uncensored Southern California Wrestler 2010.
Yep.
So I popped.
Wow. I didn't even know that he was at one point signed to WWE. I had zero clue with that.
I mean, it was a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing.
Was it NXT or was it?
Yeah. So in September 2014, he had passed WWE's medical test and would be reporting to WWE's developmental territory NXT in Orlando. He had been signed to the promotion for a few months at this point. However, only a month later, on October 13th, 2014, McClinton stated that he had been released from WWE before he even arrived in Orlando. A few years later, McClinton said WWE fired him because a medical test found something wrong with his blood pressure and his knee. However, he suspects he was fired because WWE signed another African-American wrestler at the same time that had a better body than him.
Ooh, who would that have been? I'm trying to think. 2014. I mean, it might be a guy that's not around right now as well, but
right. Jason Jordan.
That's not around. Far off.
Call.
It's the right time frame. It's the right time frame.
So big pop for Willy Mac. Like I popped huge. Like I said, it was like the last big Rocky Mountain Pro that I saw here. Before quarantine and everything happened, whole world fell apart. But then another thing that I thought was hilarious in Talknshop and Mania was with the Young Bucks, like the whole dream sequence and like what would have happened and like all that sort of stuff. I thought that was just fucking.
Well, yeah, I love that. I love that you bring it up too, because it kind of it lays to rest that any of the rumors that they obviously have any sort of beef, and it does a lot of things in a way, because I'm not going to say it opens the door, but it certainly leaves the door open a little bit to possibilities in the future, and that's kind of like, having that BTE AEW's like kind of almost giving it its like thumbs up and show of support. I feel like that was good for both the pay-per-view, but Gallows and Anderson and AEW as well, because it's kind of one of those things. It's just like, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. And I think the fact that they were pointing at like they could have signed, they kind of didn't, and like what would have, and they regret it. Yeah, and they regret it, but I think they also don't regret it because I don't know, they're doing Talknshop and Mania. They're fucking, the Good Brothers seem to be doing well. Like, I wish, I mean, in all honesty, so one thing I do like about Fight TV is that when you do order things, so like when I've ordered AEWs in the past, they give me credits for ordering. So like I didn't have to pay for Talknshop and Mania, and I still have credits because they give me like 10 credits for every pay-per-view I buy.
That's cool.
Oh, wow.
Like with cash. So it's like, it was like, oh, do you want to use 15 credits to
get a free pay-per-view?
Like 30 credits.
Yeah,
so I was like, yeah.
You're like, yeah, why not?
Yeah. So I don't know how that works on like bankrolling them, because like I mean, I know AEW has a bunch of money. I'm gonna end up paying for their next one. So I thought about it. I was like, should I just pay the $14.99 and
I think that comes out of Fight TV's pocket, and I think that you're still ordering Talknshop and Mania. I think the Good Brothers still probably got paid off you.
Yeah, they still got your money.
I would hope so.
You were gonna say something, Duncan, that I think I interrupted you on, so I didn't want to.
What I was gonna say is my favorite part about the Bucks flashback sequence is how Gallows and Anderson portrayed themselves.
As
they portrayed
drunken
themselves
assholes, as fuck ups.
Well, as the marks, right? They're just like, oh man, like we're totally gonna sign, and then literally just like, oh man, it's so cool to get text messages from Triple H.
Yeah.
And they
when the Bucks even said too, and they're like, they're already drinking.
right. Drunks, drug addicts. And I think that it's really, so they put themselves, like the Bucks put them over by them playing that, like, hey, we fucked up. Like we were being stupid marks, and when we made the wrong decision, and they know they did. But you can't go back.
No.
Right. So what's the point? You can't be upset about, wow, we really should have done that. It's like, no, we just make the best with what we have.
And you can fucking parody it. And like, you're already doing so much poking fun at wrestling and the business with like the entire pay-per-view and everything you're doing. Like, why not go back and fucking have some laughs and make fun of yourself? That shows you, I think, how comfortable they are with like the decision they made, where they're at, how things have worked out. Like, they were like, yeah, guess what? We all make fucked up decisions here and there, but guess what? we're still fucking good brothers, and we're still here. And like, we're having the fucking time of our lives doing this shit show that you're watching.
Yep.
And then on top of that, we signed with Impact. We still have doors open in other areas. Like they're doing fucking good.
Carl even said, he goes, yes, I know I should have stayed in Japan. I fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it too, though, that like with all that being said, they've been really apart from Paul Heyman, they really haven't talked a lot of shit against the Fed, if you will.
Really.
They've been pretty good about just saying like, yeah, they run things that the way they're gonna run them, and that's not necessarily the way we would have liked things to have gone. But but at the end of the day, we only have ourselves to blame for some of it, and kind of fuck Paul Heyman. But apart from that, again, we only have ourselves to blame. So I appreciate that there's almost a humility there that they it would have been very easy for them to have come out with Countdown to Fucktown and with this to be a little more, I guess, nasty with things, and I don't really see that at all.
Yeah, I don't see it at all either. I actually respect them for it.
100%.
They are a lot less negative towards the company overall than anything you're going to see on like RF video or any of those shoot interviews or anything. You know what I mean? Like they acknowledge that their decision was like who can fucking blame them, right?
I would love to know the figure.
The
I would love to know the money.
Paul Heyman are like creative.
Yeah.
I mean, they went hard on Paul Heyman. They went hard in pain on him. But like, other than that, I mean, they've made offhand comments that they were frustrated with creative.
And how could you not be?
Yeah. We're frustrated with creative, and we're fans. Imagine working for creative.
Exactly.
Or with them, rather.
Go ahead, but yeah, speaking of which, that's an awesome segue to move into creative with WWE right now, given last night's Monday Night Raw. But if you want to wrap up your thought with
No, I'd just like to point out the thing that, I think it's cool that you can do segues. Now I take fucking 2 weeks off, and now you're the fucking king of segues.
Yeah, you are.
I
learned from the best.
I'm staying in my lane.
I
stay in my lane. I don't segue.
Yeah. Yeah, I may let him keep that belt, but I'm coming for you.
Ooh, see?
Hell, we haven't even acknowledged the fact that Kyoki had to have a seizure just to get out of the predictions so he could keep the belt longer. We all know what's going on.
Yeah, my dog is...
your dog's in on the whole thing. I know what's going on.
No, he is. He is. I communicated.
Yeah, but you like triggered the sleeper cell.
Yeah,
you're like,
like
allowed to be predictions.
I have a fucking like a remote control. It's just like I will retain this belt at all costs. No, you
God
fucking
damn it! No, we
maniac.
can't do predictions.
Oh,
but no,
you asshole.
That's what I do. It's what I do.
know.
Creative with WWE. Let's just talk about it. Monday. They're certainly trying something, and it's maybe not for everyone. Of course, what we're talking about initially with what happened on Monday Night Raw last night is the announcement by Shane McMahon that there will now be a new, I don't know if it's a division or just a segment on the show.
I think it's a segment.
I think that's what
a multiple segments.
Segments that'll be interdispersed within like Monday Night Raw, but I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know if they're going to call it a division, if it'll maybe eventually have its own belt. There's a lot of questions, surrounding all that. But of course, the announcement by Shane of the Monday Night Raw's Underground.
My question with watching the Underground is, I wrote it down. What are the rules? And who's making the rules? Because it seemed like Shane was just like, he's out, he's done. Like, he's done. Call it, you're done.
Is that not how WWE works in general? A McMahon just says, this is what's going to happen, and that's the rules, and that's what, that's the finish? I'm not going to disagree with you.
Yeah,
I think you're going to have a Fight Club. I feel like you got to, general rules are you got to knock the fuck out of someone.
Yeah, tell us it has to be by KO.
You don't talk about it, and you don't talk about it.
Except, or third, you fucking televise it on Monday nights,
right? And ask people to talk about it to save your company.
Talk about it.
For ratings.
Yes. Well, I mean, people are talking about it.
That's we're right here.
So I don't know if you guys saw, there's a really funny article that was like fans roast Shane McMahon, the Underground Raw segments. And it was just like a bunch of the funniest Twitter ones. My favorite was some dude. He's like, it's cool that they're letting Shane McMahon live out his midlife crisis on Raw tonight.
That's probably not wrong.
You're probably not wrong.
I like that they basically found a real life Def Jam Fight for New York.
Yeah.
And brought it to life. See, I talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
and I manifested it into reality.
The video game.
Form, it's just not in the form of me playing the fucking game. It's me watching it on Raw. And honestly, I wanted to fucking hate it.
Me too.
I wanted to hate it, and I'm just like, no, this is gonna be shit. And then I watched it, and I'm just like, okay. I'm going to reserve the right to shit on it until a later date when they have given me, like, let's see what they do in week 2, maybe week 3. You know what I mean? Like, let's see how they handle it.
And this
is an interesting premise.
It's what we talked about last night. Is that it, like, instantly our Facebook group was, come on, what the fuck is this? You know? And when it comes to
wrestling Twitter, to be entirely fair. Wrestling Twitter was like the same way, and everybody was like, I'm pretty sure that the majority of those tweets in that article I probably read in real time, because that's just how. And
that's how you get your news. It's what you,
dude. And I laughed my dick off at a lot of them.
Did you guys see the Matt Hardy one?
I have not seen the Matt Hardy one. What did he say?
He said pretty excited for the Fight Club spoof that'll happen on Being the Elite.
I mean, and of course, like that.
Like, I thought it was hilarious, but yeah. Regardless, I agree. I think give it some time. I mean, I think it's interesting because I was way behind on my season 2. I told you guys of Dark Side of the Ring.
Okay.
So just recently, I watched in the last 3 weeks, I think 4 weeks maybe, I watched that Brawl for All one.
Mm-hmm.
So those comparisons that people made, like, it's not the same thing. I was like, but they are taking this, and I was like, it is more cinematic. I don't understand why some people in the crowd were wearing masks and others weren't, while they were like grabbing each other and yelling in each other's face. I thought that was weird.
That was weird.
But other than that, from the way it was shot, the only other thing I was like, I don't hate like the no ropes and the mat and everything that they have. Like, I was like, and the way that they're shooting it with like kind of like, you know, those like softer glowing lights, you know.
I thought it looked really cool. I thought it actually,
except for the bitches in the background. What was that?
Dude, you got to have the attitude area. You got to have some strippers on the pole.
We could probably get rid of the bitches in the background.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if I'm going to like a fight club, there's not like some disco girls like snorting coke and dancing like up on a.
You don't know that. You don't know what fight clubs I go to.
Yes, we do.
I'm in there all the time. I'm in the fight clubs I'm in.
The fight club I go to because it's rule number 1 and 2.
Yeah, and
rule number 3 is I'm going to start televising it soon. But
and they're very PC with the bitches.
Yeah. Well, I also thought that it was. Like Shane McMahon did that segment in front of them at one point and like said something to one of them. They're like, oh yeah. Like, what the fuck was that? That was super weird. That is something I will just laugh at, like, because it will always just randomly be in the background and no one at that fight club is paying attention to them except for the comment Shane McMahon made to them, which I think is funny because if they're there, you would think, okay, you have people watching the fight, then you would shoot it so you have other people like watching the girls or something like that.
McMahon's got to be McMahon's, bro.
I guess they gotta, but I thought that you have to give it some time. I like the fact that people were like, the way that wrestlers were getting up and being like, all right, I'm next, I'm taking, you know, like that sort of thing. I thought that was cool. Again, my biggest things were the women in the background and the females
in the background.
the individuals who identify as females in the background.
There we go. Thank you.
And yeah, and then just the whole Shane, like the fight happening and then him just yelling through a microphone in the crowd and then running in and being like, it's over, call it, he's done, get out of here. And I was like, that's what made me think, what are the rules? And if there aren't rules, then how can he call it? Because then the rule would really only be one rule. You knock the person the fuck out.
It's Shane's rule, bro.
Shane's rules.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that... Sorry, go ahead.
No, all I was going to say is I think that maybe they'll be like, okay, here's some ground rules. Like maybe next week, maybe he'll hear enough people that are like, so what exactly is this? Like,
well, they listen to this show, so clearly they'll pick up on.
They're on it. Yeah, I mean, I would like to give WWE Creative the benefit of the doubt and say that like they just were like, okay, let's give a couple of these segments throughout Raw. People will be talking about it. They don't quite understand. Then over the next week or two, we can kind of lay it out. Like we need to like hit them with it really quickly, and then people will talk. They'll speculate, have a lot of questions.
They'll ask questions, and
all that sort of stuff, which they probably already have a plan for. Which is maybe
they might not.
Good way of, and maybe it's a good way of introducing. They maybe, but they might not. And even if they do, and even if they do, now is their chance to listen to people and be like, oh, okay, we didn't have a plan. Now we do, because we actually read some shit. They probably misinterpreted a lot of it. Or here was our plan. Oh shit, they're not gonna like that. Like, let's try.
Now we can pivot a little bit.
We still have time, which is maybe a really good way to introduce something like that. I don't know.
I don't mind it at all. And what I said about this since last night was I'm just happy that they're trying something different, regardless of if it works or not. Creative is trying something different, something that will. This seems like it's much more tailored for Monday Night Raw than it would be on SmackDown on Fox. You know, so I like that. Like that's a good way that we can kind of separate and make the shows a little bit different. I think that's always been a problem, that we've got one that's red and one that's blue and they're both exactly the same. And realistically, this could be a way to kind of distinguish between those. I like that they're taking a chance. And in this era of, no, audience shows, having, like I think you were going to say earlier, Duncan, having something different and, trying, that this is wrestling in 2020, trying something. I kind of have to give him a bit of kudos for not playing it safe in a sense. Like, I think this is a real big, I don't know how long they've been planning this. I kind of don't think it's been that long, but
probably not.
But just that let's give this a shot. I gotta give him a golf clap on it. Like just in trying that. And I think that this could be a great launching pad for younger guys that aren't necessarily in NXT. This is or underutilized talent on any of the three brands. This is a way for people to shine. Tell me you wouldn't like to see Aleister Black in a match down there. Tell me you wouldn't like to see some of like the Shayna Baszlers like destroying people down there, including men, and how you can use it as a
WWE's not gonna do intergender matches. Like they'll do the occasional Nyla interaction or Nia. Yeah. They'll do the occasional like Nia interaction with somebody, right? But that's kind of it. WWE is really scared of intergender wrestling because a lot of their sponsors are
unless it's a woman beating the shit out of a man consistently. I think they're okay with that.
They're to a point.
Right.
But it's not gonna, you know what I mean? Like, and I do think it could do something for them, but I think that to your initial point, it's a better use of some of the guys that are in developmental, because that big ass dude.
Oh yeah. Whatever the hell his name was, like it didn't really pick up on that.
Okay, so I know
confusing.
him as Babatunde.
Shane said he was 7 feet 800 pounds.
I mean, he's a big boy. I have a picture next to him. Like he is definitely like bigger than me.
He looked huge.
He is a big fucking guy. but he was one of the guys at the Performance Center last year when we did the talent exchange. Yeah, so like, I was just like, oh shit, there's that dude. You know what I mean?
That's a great use of that, but I also think it can be like trickle down into people that maybe have more of the MMA background and stuff too, like a great launching pad for like a Sonya Deville, or for, you know, somebody that's like they're trying to build as this like
I don't know, like, if maybe they put women in there, but they're not going to do women against men. Like, I just don't see. But
you could easily have women.
They could do women. They could do women versus women. Maybe the girls on the stage behind in the background getting a fight.
Yeah.
Triple threat.
Exactly.
You know, for the poll. Not someone on a poll, just for the poll. But regardless, I think that it's what you're saying. I think, Duncan, it's true. My concern, and well, not even a concern, I guess more of like a question, is, do you think that maybe this is a way that Vince McMahon and people within it are trying to separate? We've heard that he didn't like Shayna Baszler and like these sort of things. Like, he loves Brock, but he doesn't seem to like anyone else that's really MMA-ish. I mean, I guess
Rousey and Lesnar would be the only two, I'm guessing.
And the one other dude, what was his fucking name? He had the one shitty tattoo. Came in at Super Showdown or something like that.
Was it
Cain Velasquez?
Yeah, Cain Velasquez. Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
I think they released him.
I think you have to be a big draw in that community, but like, because so many people come from an MMA background, or because so many people watch MMA, and there has been some of that's been worked into professional wrestling. I wonder if this is the way that WWE is trying to, one, gain some of that crowd and audience, two, maybe pull some of that out of the wrestling and telling the wrestlers, like, you can still go over here and do this, and you could do your like your work and like be more MMA-ish style while doing some suplexes and things like in this like unringed ring in the mat, you know, and at Underground. But when you come to the ring, we want more wrestling,
sports entertainment or whatever
type stuff. I don't know. So I don't know if that's something that they're thinking as well. So I think it's a good idea by them. Let's see how they actually played out, because a lot of things they've done recently, I've not said it. I think that's a good idea. I don't hate it, but I do want to see what they do with it, and I wonder if it is just an audience grab.
Yes.
Or if it's like, we're going to try and separate these two worlds a bit, but have the same program, but have the talent work differently between the two because the rules are different.
I think it's only a lack of fan grab.
That might be it. Yeah. Just trying to get something brewing. Oh yeah, this is new. This is different.
I don't think this exists if they're fans and if we're in a regular sort of like wrestling environment.
Because, well, how would they do this, you know, in a sense, if they were in a different arena every week? Like, this wouldn't exist. It wouldn't exist at all. But
you do a VIP where you get to be a part of the fucking like
maybe
Underground,
which isn't the worst idea either. But also,
no, but like logistically, you're not going to do that, right?
You aren't.
So
yeah, and it's younger talent, and then you have other main roster people come in every now and then. But other than that, it's developmental, and you could still shoot it every week.
Yeah, you could. I mean, I guess there's ways to do it as long as it's kept in shorter segments and it's not just keeping a live crowd, you know, just watching a TV, because that does get old whenever you're watching just something, you know, a pre-recorded match in a stadium or what have you.
Even a backstage interview.
Yeah, like that gets a little bit too much. I think I just took a lot of umbrage with how the initial reaction was by wrestling fans, and what we, again, discussed last night, Duncan, was I think you had the best quote. I can't remember your exact words, but I said, if AEW did this, you'd be cleaning your jizz off the floor. Absolutely. And that's what and that's 100% true. They're only shitting on this as much as they are because it's WWE. If this was AEW doing this, you know, people would be way more, I guess, lenient on it. They might not like it, like completely love it, but they would be 100% more lenient on it.
Absolutely. And I think to that point, it's just like, a lot of times it's just cool to hate on whatever WWE does.
Yeah.
It's just like, but fuck, at least they're trying something. It's not the same boring ass match.
Yeah,
in
haven't
front of,
all these fucking smarks that are bitching about this been essentially asking for new ideas and new creative and trying new things?
Yeah, but not that new creative. That's not what we want.
Yeah, but that's not what we want. Right.
No, I think that honestly, it's just like, hey, you want something different, right? Like, because Raw and SmackDown are both fairly formulaic shows, right?
Yep.
Like, you're going to see the same kind of interview and then a backstage segment, and then something happens, and then look, somebody got thrown into the boards, and then, you know what I mean? Like, it's become very sort of like, you know what's going to happen. And the fact that it's like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen with this random bullshit here. Like, it's something to break the monotony. And like, I don't know, man, like the Brawl for All, like looking back on the Brawl for All, right? You're just like, it's terrible. When it happened initially, when you're younger.
We were into it. I was into it.
Yeah, I was into it, but I didn't know any better.
True.
So maybe it's something like, maybe it's got legs, maybe it doesn't. Like, I just think that the problem that we're in with the wrestling community in general is like, everybody is so quick to shit on something before you give it a chance to kind of do something.
100%.
You know,
I agree, but I think that a lot of what most of the people I've actually talked to and now hearing it, like, it seems like we're all pretty lenient on it. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna like fully like it's something new, it's something different. It could be awesome, it could be fucking horrible. That's why I like it when we started talking. I'm like, what are the rules? How do I, like, if I'm just watching random people like fake beat the shit out of each other with like, they're like, give me some sort of buy-in to it. Like, right. I think we will get that, but I think for the most part, at least like the people that I've interacted with, like, I would say, 5-6 people, like in general, like it's been pretty lenient. It's like, I don't hate it, but I don't like love it yet because I don't necessarily understand it, but I'm willing to give it a shot because it's something new.
It started off in our group very negative, I will say that. Yeah. And then there was like this transition. You could see that I posted, I don't know if I was the catalyst, I'm not trying to say I was, but I posted my thoughts on it, and there were definitely people then like, yeah, you know what, like, I'll echo your thought on that. But like, there's people, I think initially it was very divisive, and in this day and age of kind of just like, no one has their own goddamn opinion, they've got to fucking echo somebody else's. It seemed like it was mob mentality from the get-go, that was just like, we're gonna shit on this, and I'm just not cool with that with anything in life, let alone pro wrestling.
Yeah, I think it started because they announced that Shane was coming back. And then people just started shitting on Shane.
Yeah.
And like, look, initially I was in the same boat. I'm just like, why the fuck does Shane McMahon need to come back? Like, what, he's gonna talk too long and be on TV too long and
sweat
take away
too much, and yeah.
Right. And it turns out everybody was sweating too much. Yeah, it was definitely hot in that place. Like, that was a virus breeding ground. I just want that to be.
Yes, it did.
Like,
did look that way.
Come on, man! Like, it looked very moist in that air. I was expecting the blood sprinklers from Blade to go off at any minute. Yeah. So like, yes, I'm not saying I'm not gonna shit on it. I'm just not gonna shit on it right now.
Not yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'll shit on it for the girls in the background that I don't understand.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the no rules.
That's fair.
Fair. And the no rules. And I think that, yes, that is a absolute valid point. It's just like.
But again, I think they were really smart to hold off on the rules to like get everyone talking about it, like,
or they had no idea.
Or they just had no idea what they were doing.
Or they have no idea, and then they're like, "Oh shit, we like shot all this stuff." Like,
do you think it's just like
yelling, "You win"? Like,
right? Do you think it's just
jumping off shit in the background?
Do we think it's just like 3 weeks and then we forget about it?
Depends how well it does, probably.
I guess.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things.
I mean, I guess I will say when you talk about Shane being, people just shitting on Shane and things like that. Talk about a segue because it's something that I wanted to bring up anyway.
Please.
But Rusev posted on Twitter on that day, and it was 2:30, 3 o'clock p.m.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "We want to build new talent," quote, which is obviously quoting back to WWE and what they've said. And it says, "Shane is back," sums it up, but that was before we saw that there was something different that happened. So I mean, even somebody who's worked there, who's been there a long
part of
time,
the system, knows
very
it.
big part of the system, was shitting on it pretty quickly. But it seems like he also might be a little sour while just not saying anything, saying a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I feel that way, and I want to get your guys' opinion on it, just because I don't think someone who at least I know he cares, and I'm not saying he cares. He could be whatever, I wanted to be let go, I wanted to be out of that contract, but hasn't said a lot. We're saying the Good Brothers earlier in this podcast said, they haven't said quite that much, but and in all honesty, I think when Chris Jericho left and when Moxley left, everything that was said needed to be said on the platforms that they said it on, and everything now is just okay, yeah, no, I actually fucking heard it already.
Right, everybody, it's just echoing the sentiment.
Nothing's a revelation at this point. We're not super surprised.
Kind of somewhat of the first times someone of that stature was talking about it. So I don't think there's no reason for them to do that. That's not, but Rusev now just randomly stating on Twitch when he's streaming his video games, saying that oh, I'm not a wrestler anymore, I'm a streamer.
Yeah,
he's he has said a couple of times, no, I'm not a wrestler. People, when people have asked him, so either that's a big work, or
maybe he's that burnt by the business that he just doesn't want to do it anymore.
He might be, dude. He might be very sour right now.
It seems like he's sour, and I just feel like he's not the type of person to publicly say about but he will just I'm doing something else, but I don't know, just the way you hear him say it, you're
I think he knows there's too much money to be made down the road.
Let's talk about that for a second, because that's actually a really good point. So Rusev was, obviously he's Bulgarian, but he was an Olympic power lifter or judo,
right? And I think you might be right. I think he did have kind of a judo or something background. I think you might be right on that one.
But didn't he go straight from doing that into WWE? I don't think he had any other.
He went to California. I know he trained in California, and I want to say he trained with even Rikishi at one point. I might be wrong, but
did he have any actual, you know what I mean, company experience?
Oh, no, I don't think he did. I think he just trained and probably worked a couple indie dates and then went to FCW, I want to say, wouldn't it?
I think so. I think
it might have been that way.
If his entire wrestling career was WWE, and he was then WWE,
that's his only experience, then
however many years.
Yeah.
Matthew, go ahead. I know you got it pulled up.
Yeah. So mid 2000s, he immigrated from Bulgaria to the United States. Originally lived in Virginia before relocating to Torrance, California, where he began training as a wrestler under Gangrel and, yes, Owen, ding, 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 Rikishi.
Who did it for The Rock.
I had a feeling, yeah.
So he debuted in San Diego at the San Diego-based independent promotion New Wave Pro Wrestling, November 22nd, 2008. And then, let's see, he joined the Santa Maria, California-based independent promotion Vendetta Pro Wrestling, so that's a VPW. And then from there, he actually got into developmental with WWE in early 2010. So he was at Florida FCW, and then that's kind of where everything started. So he had, before that, he wasn't.
So we're all right. Honestly, that fits in exactly what we were just saying. So you're absolutely right, Duncan, in the sense that, you work for one company, have no other experience for a long time. And yeah, it might sour you on the particular industry that you're in because you don't know how other companies operate or how,
I can say from experience that I have been burned by companies and it has killed my love for the industry that I worked in before. So
me too.
I know. And then it took me a couple of years to find my love of it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like it could take him a little while.
It might not be gone forever, but he might be a little bit burnt. Yeah, he might be sour or burnt right now.
Yeah, dude, and who can blame him, right? Fire him, keep his wife. Her parents get COVID, he gets COVID. Like it was a shitty couple of it's been
Dude
a shitty
just
few
wants to
months.
sit around and play video games.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Which is what you want to do when you get fired too. Like
it's true.
It's like
Owen doesn't even play video games. I don't even really play video games. It's just like, well, I guess.
Fine, yeah.
I guess we play video games now. I don't have video games to play.
Do we want to move on a little bit to the rest of what happened on this batshit crazy week of Raw? Because there were a couple of other things.
Yep.
I'll say that I guess the other big news and point of discussion is this new faction, I suppose, that we don't have a name for, that just literally, I guess, like firebombed a generator or something outside the performance center under black hoods. At first I was like, oh, what are the ninjas doing? The ninjas, what are they? Don't do that.
Ninjas from the Street Profits.
Right. I don't know. There was 5 of them. I can say that there was 5 of them. The clip is pretty short. I didn't catch it live, so all I did was actually catch the YouTube clip. The clip of it's only about a minute long. It just shows, 5 figures running up to a generator-looking type thing and throwing Molotov cocktails at it. And I guess making the lights in the performance center go out for a minute or two.
That if I wanted to take out a generator, I think Molotov cocktails might be number 2 on my list for like best ways to take out a generator.
I'm plugging it. I'm plugging it.
Killdozer.
Yeah, exactly. After that, I'm like, I'm gonna need 4 other people and some Molotov cocktails, and we are gonna fucking throw it at this generator.
It's gonna be a Rage Against the Machine video.
Yeah.
Bob's
operate.
Yeah, I don't really.
Okay, we can shit on that one for a second though, because like, it was.
Yeah.
Okay, a new faction is showing up. You don't do this.
Yeah, they literally promoted it as that, right? They literally said that, or is that? Yeah.
And I think that was the mistake. Like it then could have been someone's kind of like minions and so. Like,
don't even.
Like,
yeah.
Could have been like.
Don't tell us before.
Yeah, don't tell us before. It's.
I think that's like would have worked much better.
Yeah,
it's like watching a trailer and being able to see the whole movie nowadays. And I'm
which
like,
is
okay,
pretty much
like
everything.
A 2.5 minute trailer. You give me any 2.5 minute trailer, I'm like, saw it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, I agree. There's a lot of course, speculation as to who it is and where it's going. A lot of people seem to think that it might be related to the SmackDown hacker. Now that, of course, they kind of have abandoned that, and Ali turned up on Raw. That it might be,
Jinder Mahal.
Mm-hmm.
That it might be revolving around that. You know what? That'd be kind of awesome if that actually were the case.
He got a couple more Singh brothers. They found some Singh siblings, like siblings. So they're the Singh siblings.
The Singh quad.
The Singh
quartet.
Yeah, exactly.
The Singh quartet and it's Jinder.
Singh Quet. The Singh Quet. That's it.
Oh, that's pretty
the
good.
Name.
That's pretty good. I like that.
And they found a couple more brothers, and now Jinder's having them throw Molotov cocktails.
You look Indian enough. Come here. Like, yeah. I'm Mexican, sir. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You're close enough. So that's one of the theories. The other one is
the hacker thing. Can I say really quickly?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I will say the hacker thing, like. they did it for so long to just
it went
drop
deep, man. Like they were
really fucking deep. Like that's I get it, and I've even criticized. I won't say we, like the collective we, but I've even criticized when we all say, AEW can't do things wrong, which for the most part, I'm such a smart. Like I'm like I get hyped up over everything they do too, but I have said a couple of times, like they just like drop shit, and you and Duncan have been like, yeah, because it's not working, and like they realize sooner rather than later. So you take that mentality, then you apply it to now the opposite, and they're like, okay, we had this hacker thing, now we've let it go for so long, but we're still gonna just cut it, like, and eventually people will fucking forget about it. But at the same time, they were so in on it, and everyone, and I guess this is one thing.
It felt like it was like people were hyped about it too.
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying. Like even Raw Underground, people are talking on the internet about it. Like it's a big talking point.
Yeah,
but the hacker was a big talking point, and it went away. People were like deciphering symbols and the way lights were happening, and like they had people fully engaged. And I don't know if it's because there was no one there for the pop.
Could be.
Or if something happened behind the scenes, but they dragged it out for a long time. And again, maybe they thought they were going to start being able to do live shows. You would get these pops.
Right.
It's really weird. And also the way they did it makes me think that they could bring it back at some point.
I kind of hope they do, and I don't know if I want it to be involved with this latest angle, especially after kind of the debut of it. I'll say that.
Yeah, a hacker doesn't need to throw.
A
hacker does it from the inside.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it doesn't make sense to me. The
internal Molotov cocktail.
The other speculation is, or there's a couple others. There's one that suggests that it might be a return of the Nexus, without a Wade Barrett, as the leader. That it might be,
and without Heath Slater,
and without like, it seems like, but you could do a new form of the Nexus in a sense of guys from NXT kind of coming up. I think that kind of could work, and a lot of the speculation on that is that Dijakovic is I always say his name wrong. I can never. Dijakovic. Thank you.
Dominic
Dijakovic. There's a lot of speculation that he's the leader in this. I'm not really sure where that's coming from. Whether it's just a body type as the person, or whether he was just speculated to be coming up to Raw anyway, as he was already there and then kind of went back. So like that's a lot of the talk. I think. From listening a couple of times to the actual clip, and like they're all yelling, whatever they're yelling, throw it, whatever they're bring it down, whatever. I think there's a woman involved in there. It sounds like there's definitely a female voice, and it looks like a female figure. So I don't know if that's a possibility that they're maybe just kind of throwing that in. Again, I don't really know where they go with this, but if you look at Dijakovic's Instagram, apparently there's been some really cryptic kind of like pictures, or posts where it's like something about along the lines of "burn the ashes, we will rise again," or something like that, or "we will rise, burn the ashes." It's something along those lines, and it's like a black background with a slightly less black text, so you can barely read it, but it's there, and it kind of fits, I suppose, the gimmick of like an intruding. I don't want to use the word Antifa type scenario, but
don't.
But you know what I mean, or like, are they? That's kind of why I didn't want to use it, because I hope that the WWE isn't trying to be as insensitive to kind of play off that, but. Wouldn't be the first time.
I was going to say Bruce Pritchard's involved. So let's not get our hopes up.
Yeah.
It's not going to be.
I'm not trying to bring that into the universe, but you understand why
I of course do. I of course do. You're not also the first person that I've heard bring that.
Okay, good.
Sort of.
I hadn't heard it before myself, but yeah. No, I'm glad.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely
talk.
Yeah, that
I'm just
definitely.
Gonna say right now what I know, which is we all know that Vince's wife works for the Trump administration. It's all being filtered through.
Yep.
Then the hacker was subliminally messaging all of us, and then we're all going to go get a vaccine that's going to give us chips that radiate 5G, and Bill Gates is behind it, but really Vince McMahon is behind it.
Oh, that's a good point.
Look,
every Monday,
just to keep its ratings up,
he's gonna flip a switch, and we're all gonna watch Raw, and the ratings are gonna go up. And every Friday, it's gonna happen. Then he just cuts it off.
First of all, I'm very upset.
He cuts it on. That's what the 5G is all about.
I'm very upset that we're talking about this on Oh No Wrestling when this very clearly belongs on the second part of Conspiracy Cast on Nobody Cares.
The new faction, all I'm saying is should be called 5G.
Oh, that's a great.
5 of them?
You know what? That's actually a great name for a faction.
That's all I'm saying.
Sorry. Now, can we just bring back the Nexus? Can we just do that instead?
No, because then Ryback has to come back.
Oh, you're right. Oh,
yeah.
No one wants him, do we?
It's nobody wants him.
Hey, but seeing Rhino at Talknshop of Mania,
yeah,
that was
great. Cool. That was
great.
That was good. So yeah, I don't know where they're gonna go with that. I'm more skeptical of this new faction than I am Raw Underground.
Yeah, I think I am too.
That's I think when I first heard that news, did you not automatically think like, oh, Undisputed Era?
That was my initial thought.
Think, yeah.
Yep. I think all of us were just like, obviously, what? Oh, now you're gonna bring in some random jabronis, like, and maybe it is Dijakovic, right? So you're talking about him doing stuff on his Instagram. Like a lot of wrestlers are working their social media because they're not getting TV time. Like Aleister Black is doing character redevelopment through his Instagram,
which I think is cool.
He got his eye taken out.
It's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, Aleister Black, I heard that they were looking. I mean, I think they said Vince didn't like him or whatever, But I heard that they're maybe doing a revamp of.
Yeah, and the article that I read was just like, no, it's not that Vince doesn't like him. Vince likes him a lot. It's that Vince doesn't necessarily think his character will work for the mainstream audience the way it works for the NXT audience, as sort of being
You're
like
talking about Black,
evil.
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Being evil in the sense of like the traditional sort of like how Aleister Black has always portrayed himself as being like, the black arts and things like that.
He needs he needs to be tweener is really what he needs to be, but tweeners don't really exist anymore. But and I
only see him being a face while being a fucking badass.
That's all he's been on the main roster.
Like I don't see him being, grins and shits and giggles ever as a face. You know, like his faceness will be that. I could be wrong, but I feel it's like that. Like it's the Stone Cold face. Like like he's the. And I'm not Stone Cold anti-authority. Like Aleister Black doesn't need to be that, but he's like this
an anti-hero
of like fucking, like he's this hate breed that came up and like, but people want to love him because he's fucking awesome.
KO.
KO
is one of those guys that on a lot of times.
So I think that's kind of the weird thing. Like you're saying, there's no tweener, and I think everything they've done with the tweener, they've obviously fucked up.
He's been way too nice for his dark ass gimmick. That's what I think is my personal gripe.
I think they're rebranding him to be a darker character without necessarily being an evil character
or like supernatural character or something,
Yeah, which I kind of get, and also at the same time I'm like, yeah, but Undertaker, like, we'll suspend disbelief for some stuff
right now, which I'm not going to say that is the Undertaker, but I will say that like if you were to, that's
like
you
talk about supernatural.
Like you start putting them in that same realm where it's like it's only going to eventually end up there, which I would love to see. An Aleister Black Fiend match at some point, but I will say that would be the only thing I could think of, and like I guess you have to have these two realms of darkness that they're in order to kind of separate, or else is there enough room for all of that character and
spookiness me and Duncan actually kind of talked a little bit about this the other night as well, and I think we both like I think I said it off the cuff, like when we were talking about the repackaging of Aleister Black off air. You had mentioned that, or I had mentioned, I'm like, oh, you watch, he'll be teaming with Bray Wyatt in a couple weeks, and we kind of both thought about it, and we're like, that might actually work and help them both. It could if it was done right.
Yeah, I think it's just, it would be cool if it's done right.
But I don't trust them to do it.
But that doesn't really play with any of Bray's characters currently.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
No, it doesn't.
Like, because you can't really have a human interacting with the Fiend unless it's like Bray Wyatt, right?
In their mind.
Yeah.
Mania.
At Mania, exactly. Like, but that doesn't really happen. Like, I don't think you can do.
Yeah, it doesn't work right now. It doesn't. You're right.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Unfortunately, I would love to see it, but
yeah, just not quite right at this point in time. Maybe something they can play with in the future, but who knows?
Yeah.
The other thing that I thought was absolutely batshit crazy on Monday Night Raw, of course, was Montel Ford getting poisoned.
He just got roofied, bro. Like, he didn't get poisoned. He just got a slip to Mickey. That's it.
Is that what they were doing with that?
Yeah.
You think Zelina Vega's up to no good with
you've
that?
You've never had your drink spiked with Xanax before?
I actually have not. I'm not good looking enough, apparently.
Well,
no, maybe you don't remember.
Maybe I don't.
Maybe you just think you blacked out.
That's true. I mean, I have blacked out quite a few times in my life.
As long as you wake up at home, man.
That's it.
Yeah.
How do you know you weren't drugged at home? That's all I'm saying.
That's true. That's true. Teresa is crafty. It is
kind of funny and fucked up that they throw that in there.
It is. It was something stupid.
It reminds me of, remember, and I hate to keep going back. Actually, I don't hate to keep going back to Talknshop Mania. But when fucking Sex Ferguson has the bottle of pills, takes the fucking whole bottle.
And Mike Kanellis is the one that gives it to him.
Yeah,
I was a little uncomfortable with that though, just because the Mike Kanellis pill addiction thing too. I mean, he must have been cool with it, but
when
it felt a little,
because obviously Maria was there, she was in the match, right?
Yeah,
she was on the pay-per-view, and obviously when he
looking hot as fuck, by the way, probably hotter than she looked at all in WWE. Side boob in that bikini, give me it all day. I'm a side boob fan. Sorry.
I'm 100% with you. But for him to go, if you tell my wife, I'll fucking kill you. Oh, don't tell her. Don't tell me that. She's obviously watching on for $14.95 on pay-per-view.
And that's what I'm saying. The whole, when you're saying oh, maybe, I'm like, dude, it's maybe if you're the Jeff Hardy, look at that correlation. Jeff Hardy's storyline, what they're doing.
That's way worse.
Way more, paying him way more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The Good Brothers were not paying Mike Kanellis a fucking shit ton of money and being hey man, this is what we wrote, you're gonna do it. It's more hey, this would be fucking funny. Or maybe it was his idea. Yeah. Maybe it was his idea. I think everyone was having so much fun, and the whole spirit of that
wasn't being done
to work on ourselves,
to make money off of it, in a sense, like WWE was doing with Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. It was doing it to poke fun at themselves, and I think there is a huge difference there. So it was
wrestling inception.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and it was just it was the most meta thing we've seen since the Firefly Funhouse match.
Yeah.
Right. When you really want to get down to it, that was even more layered upon layers.
That shit was still great. I actually watched it, 2 weeks ago? Because I was thinking, I was
did a revisit of it?
Yeah, it was just kind of one of those things. I don't know why. I was thinking about conversations we had on the podcast and stuff like that. And I was I need to go back and now reassess. And it's still great. Still fucking
I've definitely gone back and watched it maybe a couple weeks prior to that. I've definitely gone back and watched both the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse match. And I will say, I don't think the Firefly Funhouse match stood up near as well as the Boneyard match for me. I think for me, out of the two, for me, out of the two, like the Boneyard match is gonna be the one that I think is talked about years to come more than the Firefly Funhouse match. But yeah,
I think there will be a deep place for the Firefly Funhouse. I think as wrestling history goes, that's like fucking deep cut, you know, like it's going to be like in there. I think the Boneyard match is going to be always talked about, especially if Taker doesn't come back, which who the fuck knows. But regardless of that, I think you then see like whenever what was the last fucking WWE pay-per-view? I don't know. I just remember
the horror show at Extreme Rules.
You text me and you were like, "Oh, have you?" I was like, "Oh, no, I haven't watched it yet." Like I was busy doing shit. Like things came up, and then you were like, "You have to watch these matches," and I did. So then I go and like watch like the Swamp match.
Yeah,
and then I kind of tie that back with Bray Wyatt. You know what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? Is like there is like a string of that then happens where I then see I don't know. I wonder if I then look at it differently because it's still this whole same storyline and character and you know that sort of thing, which is an interesting way to think about it. Like because that Swamp match is fuck. And then you look at that Swamp match and then despite who was in either of the matches, so let's just take AJ Styles and Undertaker out for a second, and like, just you look at that and you're like, what? Like, it's almost like when they change directors in a movie, like from the original to the sequel, or in the middle of a trilogy or something, and you're like, what the fuck happened here?
We started off so well. Why? How did it go to this?
How'd you fuck this up? And that's kind of what I thought with like, I was like, you guys nailed it. You did so well, and now you're over here doing this Swamp match, and it's shitty.
And talking about the Swamp match, I'm going to be the sergeant of segues right here, because I want to move us.
Whoa.
I'm going to move us into the territory of last week's Friday Night SmackDown, or SmackDown Live, whatever the fuck it's called. And now The Fiend attacking Alexa Bliss in the ring after her match. Where do we think this is going? Is this just because of the affiliation of the Mixed Match Challenge team of Little Big with Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman? Of course, we also had Alexa Bliss playing the Sister Abigail-like character that drew Braun Strowman in that Swamp match. It seems like a real big thing for The Fiend. Is this just trying to, I guess, get in Braun Strowman's head? Is this where we're going, or is there something else there? I don't know.
I mean, I think we saw the initial getting into Braun's head at the beginning of that Swamp match where he shows up with the black sheep mask and, you know, like on himself, like that sort of thing before being chained down. So there are those mind games. The big little thing, I don't know if everyone still fully remembers or cares or would make that connection.
It feels like a long time ago, and kind of like that's not for a casual fan either. That's just watching on Fox on like catching a wrestling show.
Exactly.
That's not for those people.
I could also see Alexa Bliss being somehow just maybe it's like this. I would love if it was like this new power of like darkness that the Fiend has, where he can then like attack somebody who is in a certain mindset or something like that and make them really fucking dark, and he doesn't control them,
or take their essence in a way, maybe take their essence,
either takes the essence or like makes her just really dark, and like she then just wrestles that way. But it's like it doesn't necessarily like he's not controlling her, but he did something to her, which is like this. Yeah, so it's this bigger, like he has these dark arts powers. He takes the light, and then like they are then not only, then you could create the storyline. They're dark, they're doing all these things, they're having all these matches and all these storylines with people while they're being really dark. But there's always this thing where like they need to somehow like redeem and prove themselves when they're then like catch that light again and like bring it back.
I think this is a really good idea. This is so much better than any way they will write this. You know that, right?
Yes,
like this,
of course we do. That's usually what happens.
Okay,
but I mean, as we also know, they listen to our show weekly, and they're waiting for us to give them ideas.
I think they're
creative.
on Twitch watching live.
They are.
Right now.
Yeah, they definitely are. They're the one viewer.
What's up, Trips?
Which is bullshit because we're all logged.
Trips watches your podcast.
All three of us are watching this,
so we know that it's
now.
bullshit. So anyway. But yeah, I mean, I actually kind of enjoyed bits and pieces of SmackDown that I watched. I thought that it was kind of cool. It was a cool like cliffhanger ending to have the Fiend come out in that way. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was they can't do it every week, but they can do that more more often. Mm-hmm. I also really did enjoy the fact that this Big E push might actually be happening. He won a match against The Miz, which they don't bury The Miz for no reason. They typically do it. I think they have The Miz lose to guys
to build
somebody. So it felt and it was a multitude of things. Like it was, of course, like the match started like with The Miz then like pissing Big E off with a big slap across his face, and you saw Big E get fired up, and it wasn't happy New Day, Big E anymore. It was pissed off Big E, which I loved. And then for him to win without the big ending, but also to use, I can't remember what they called it, but it was I'm sure he's used it before. I'm sure I've seen it before, but not too often. I can't remember the last time I've seen Big E win a singles match with a submission move that was basically like a almost an abdominal stretch, right? Like kind of it's close to it. I can't really describe it right now without seeing it again, but
right.
But it was cool to see him just win by a submission. I thought that's.
I mean, I think that could be a good signal of like the strength and like the push that they're putting behind him, because he is so strong. He's such a big guy. Yeah. We know Vince loves fucking big dudes. So it's one of those things where it works really, really, really well. And I think that like if you do that and show that you're showing that strength in that submission, while like New Day has been so high flying and everything like that, and with Xavier, with Kofi, I mean, but Big E, I think it's time to kind of showcase that. And if you can show some of that strength, I don't know, I think it's a good way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that and what else are you going to do with him? He's so charismatic, right? Like he is definitely one of those like larger than life personas that you want your professional wrestlers to be. Also, he's fucking hilarious.
Dude like, hits it on every single aspect.
He does. I don't know if you listen to the New Day podcast at all, but
don't.
Dude, it is just the three of them bullshitting, and usually they'll like bring somebody else in, right? Like they'll bring in their barber or like friends from, but dude, like I could listen to those three laugh all day long, because just especially Xavier's laugh is just so high pitched and it's almost like a hyena, and I fucking love it. But yeah, it's New Day podcast is called Feel the Power. And they always say they're just
definitely
like,
heard of it, and it's one of those that I haven't had time to actually listen to. But I should. But I'll take your recommendation, not under consideration, but to heart, and will give it a listen just to hear.
Yeah, like I took a chance. I was like, I need a break from all of the wrestling podcasts that I normally listen to. So I saw them, like a clip of them on Instagram. Like they posted like we do the Twitch thing, which I think they do for maybe a Patreon or something. Yeah. But I saw a clip of that, and it was just like, okay, I need to watch that. Like they did an interview with Big Show on one of them, and it's just like listening to wrestlers talk to other wrestlers, especially the New Day, like talking to each other and other wrestlers, like that shit is so fucking funny. was talking about the New Day podcast.
Oh yeah,
like talking about how I can listen to those guys.
Yeah,
live.
they're amazing. How far off is X from returning at this point? I mean, I don't know. Achilles is a devastating injury.
It is, and it it may have ended Ember Moon's career, right? So
is that what she's saying?
Well, she doesn't know if she's ever gonna come back. So
that's a tragic one.
It really is. So I know Xavier's got I listened to that podcast. He's got some sort of under desk bike or something that he can do with maybe pedals or something that he can do.
I know it. Yeah, I know what those are. Yeah, they're
he can work his Achilles while he's sitting there playing video games, and it's so I know he's working on it. I think that it's going to be one of those maybe they're saving it. Maybe they're saving it for it could be a Rumble return. Maybe they're saving it for SummerSlam. You know what I mean? SummerSlam
Rumble return would be cool for him, I think too. That would be fitting, especially man, bring him and Kofi back at the Rumble. Save Kofi. Don't bring him back in 6 weeks. Just let him have a break and have because he's Mr. Royal Rumble at this point anyway. That would be great if you had him come back and then had X come back and one of the two of them win it. That's a good way. I don't know, or get close or something I don't know.
It's a good way. I just so I've been just going through the SmackDown highlights here on Hulu really quickly to watch the ending of this match. So it's actually a weird finish. It is something I haven't seen in a long time. I didn't realize how weird it was until I'm rewatching it. So Big E, John Morrison gets ejected.
Yep.
Then then Big E does a roll up right from behind, comes under, rolls him up, gets the 2 count. Then when he goes to kick out, then catches his leg again. And then he picks him up. That's the weird thing. So
it's a weird
the leg he was holding. So the leg he was holding.
He turns it in. He turns it into that weird upside down abdominal stretch thing.
So it's so the leg is here. He's got 2 legs here. He uses the leg on the inside,
right? Okay.
And then he hooks it. He kicks out, and then the leg on the outside from the one he was hooking on the inside pops up, and he catches that, pulls it behind his neck. And you're saying, he does this abdominal stretch, rib break, but he does it while holding him up on his shoulder. And Miz is just out, his the whole front half of him is just hanging off the top half, off the shoulders. So his lower portion of his body is on the shoulders of Big E, but then he's just flailing about, which is it's not your traditional abdominal stretch where you're standing there and pulling him back. It's literally him holding him in the air like this,
which is
he's flailing like a fish.
They could make a huge deal out of that, and it's obviously because of the counter into no, I got you again. Oh, you didn't try and counter. No, I got you again. That is clearly what you do with a face that you're trying to push. That's not something that's just fluke win, off, oh, we got to win off the Miz. No, that's you don't do that in a match if you're not trying to build that dude, to something. Yeah. So I really hope that they're going to go forward with this. I know Duncan, I think he would agree with it as well.
Oh my God. Of course. I think if you're not behind a Big E fucking championship push, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing? We got a couple of things I do want to address before we wrap things up for the evening. And one of those is, while we're still on the topic of WWE, Rodney Thompson in our group would like to know if is the WWE killing the women's roster with the Bayley and Sasha dous angle. And then he has a little addendum according to Ember Moon. So I think Ember Moon must have tweeted about this.
I don't know about the according to Ember Moon part, so I can't comment on that. I don't have all the information. I will say, again, I'm walking the line here because I can see them doing both ways, and I don't want to give creative as much credit as they can. The dose belts thing, I already had said was done. They did it with Becky. I don't think they need to, I think it's starting to be overdone. With Sasha and Bayley, I do think that they've kind of made it all about them and maybe buried some. At the same time, the fact that they've held all of those belts, one, Charlotte isn't around. She was involved in like multiple storylines where she wasn't really doing anything. She's won all these titles before. So I think maybe this is an opportunity for them to hold all of the belts and then really build new female stars. I'm hoping that's the case. I can't say that it is, but I think it would be brilliant if they did, because you take two of their top women stars, say, we're gonna beat people, take every, you have what, Asuka and who else? Like, really, that's like,
it's the female mega powers is what it is. That's what I'm looking at. I mean, Bayley's always been associated with, of course, with Macho. I'm not sure, you could really but you can in a weird way with Hogan and, Sasha. I guess that kind of fits in a little bit, but you can make that comparison. So yeah, it does sort of force them to, in the meantime, build some credible threats like you were talking about. I'm not in love with it. I think that there's a lifespan on it. I don't know that they can keep it going through till WrestleMania.
Agreed. But I'm already tired of it.
But I don't see them doing it at SummerSlam. I think the blow off will probably be Royal Rumble, and that will be a great place to do the blow off match for. The
Mania match between Bayley and Sasha.
Correct. Well, yeah.
I think there's a way that you use this to elevate the titles, right?
Which that needs to happen. By the way, it does.
It does. So like you can already tell, the women's tag titles will elevate. So by that happening, eventually Sasha and Bayley are going to split up.
Have to.
They will probably stay champions for a while, like tag champions,
pissed off and then at each other.
And then they'll just be like, they'll lose the belts, or they'll just say fuck it and vacate the belts. I think vacating the belts because they can't stand each other is a better option, because then you can do a women's tag something, right?
Yep.
Put more eyes on more female tag teams, and then do a winner takes all for the belts.
Leaves it open, I guess, later down the road for a Becky to come back, if
sure,
next or Mania or something.
I think there's a way to do it, right? Like, I'm not sure what the way to do it is, because I don't get paid enough for that shit.
No. But you have Shayna in the mix. You can have they're not short of good female talent at the moment. They really have done a good job of building it.
I think it'll end up being that one of them costs the other their title.
Yes. I think Sasha costs Bayley.
At this point, yes. It'll be Sasha costing Bayley. And she'll be like, and
she drops it to maybe Nikki Cross or something.
I mean, maybe. I don't know who the hell she'll drop it to. Hopefully it's a new star, right? Like, hopefully it's somebody that's not just the same. Hopefully it's not Charlotte.
I think she's out for a bit, too. So,
I think she is, too, but I also hope that it's not.
I do. I agree.
It's just like, okay, that doesn't need to be a thing.
No, not all the time. Like, she's done it enough. Like, it's fine. We know how good Charlotte is. We don't need to have her. Honestly, how cool would it be if we had Ripley appear and do something?
I would love that. I would love that. And that's the thing, is like, there's a way to do the split. Like, you take one of the titles off of one of them, right? So like, you take the title off of Bayley, and then
that obviously
tag belts.
Yeah, that obviously causes like a clashing of like heads for the tag belts and stuff.
Right, and then they're just like, and then they either they
lose
drop them to somebody else, or one of them is just like, I'm not going to be a part. And then And then you've got one title and a really good feud that can go along with it, and you've elevated some other female stars in the process.
Already love it.
Right. So
yeah,
again, that could be giving creative way too much credit, as Matthew said. But if I was running things, right, like that would be sort of my angle on it, right? Like you use two of the best female wrestlers on the roster right now. This long, slow burn story, right? Like they had burner matches in NXT, again, bangers in NXT. So now have them that slow build to that on the main roster,
and do a best of like something series with them too. Like have them go for it for a while.
There's a bunch of shit that you can do with it. The point is like they are either going to elevate the entire women's division in this, or it has buried the entire women's division in this, and there is no gray area. Unfortunately, it's
one side of the tracks or the other, I think, and I hope they're doing it for the reason of understanding they want to build the rest of these women wrestlers and such, because I mean, isn't Charlotte also like filming some TV show or something?
Yeah,
like, when
I think
you
she's
start
out
like
for a
hearing
bit.
about some like wrestlers doing things like that, you're like, okay, things are kind of shifting. And like, granted, does Hollywood take them on or not? Like that's to be seen. Does an audience that's outside of wrestling take them on? That's to be seen. But when that starts happening, they're obviously looking at other avenues and what could be happening in their life, and looking at longevity and things like that. You're looking at careers. I mean, obviously The Rock is probably the best one. I mean, he's like the highest paid fucking actor in the world. But regardless, you have to then start building something else. And I think it's kind of interesting that we're now also seeing like with this in WWE, because again, I think unless you start having some sort of build, I think you have been squashing everything and putting all your eggs in that one basket.
Asuka's the prime example of a lot of this, but you know, but hey, I mean, I'm right there with you.
I think it kind of ties into, then you look at AEW, right? And you look at like the women's tag championship that's happening now.
I was gonna get there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's fine.
Sorry.
We can talk about it now. I was just gonna say because
I'll let you segue. Sergeant segue. Sorry.
You brought up steamroll. I was trying to end the show with a little bit of talk about that women's tournament, and we'll wait for Duncan to get back to have that conversation. We'll talk about something a little less important right now, but you did bring up The Rock, and he did indeed, of course, it seems like him and his ex-wife, who's his business partner, have purchased the XFL for $15 million, which seems like a really, really cheap, deal for all those assets. I think that's part of. There's some legal stuff going on with that, just because I think they're like, I don't know if this is right that you should be able to buy it for this cheap or something. Like I don't know how any of that stuff works. I'm not a smart guy in the financial times here. But
I will say that The Rock makes on average, according to a quick Google search, $21 million per film, with an extra $1 million for social media support. So dude,
he's the highest paid movie star in the world, isn't he?
He only had to make half or 3/4 of a film to buy the XFL.
Right.
I just threw up in my mouth, because that's like, although honestly, like Jim Carrey was making $20 million a movie back in
Julia Roberts
the 90s.
Back in the 90s. That was always reportedly like what her thing was. I don't know. I'm gonna look up Dwayne Johnson net worth,
plus he gets whatchamacallit, what's it say here? So he gets earned profits too. So he gets residuals. He got 15% for Jumanji.
Dude, yeah. Can you? All right, around $320 million of net worth. So, he's doing all right.
He's getting to that $500 million mark.
It's dangerous for when people are just like, The Rock should run for president. It's just like, The Rock doesn't know how to be a regular human being.
No.
Look at the size of that man's cheat meals. That's all I want you to do. I want you to go to Instagram.
I love this. I get so hungry watching, like, And those pancakes he's had recently with the peanut butter, and then he puts the Terramana tequila syrup on it.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
It's probably what Owen eats in a week.
It's
what I eat in a week is one of his cheat meals.
His cheat meals are like 5,000 to 6,000 calories or something like that.
Man.
I read in an article.
Dude, silly. I think maybe even more than that because because what are you supposed? Yeah, I bet that
2,000 is what they say.
2,000 calories.
I actually so there was a whole article that I read a while ago. I'll send it to you guys. I'll find it. I won't look it up right now, but they calculated how many fish per year he eats because they had his strict diet,
sushi,
how many chickens, all this, and they break it down by type of fish.
800 chickens and
it's ridiculous.
Yes.
I would actually love to see that.
That would
because
that's funny. That's
funny.
But
yeah, dude, his cheat meals are just all right, and every meal for me is a cheat meal because I don't care.
Sure. I'm with you. Look at the size.
So he said his cheat meals can hit 6,000 calories.
God damn.
That's a lot, man. That's a lot.
I mean, that's just a meal. You're also that's not your only meal of the day. That dude eats fucking 6 meals. So maybe let's say if he ate 2 other light meals and that was his cheat.
Right.
He's still eating probably fucking what?
8,000
10,000 calories. He also probably burnt 20,000.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, the workouts are insane. He probably has live people that he takes the blood from to inject directly into him to make himself stronger.
How much adrenochrome do you think he's drank?
That's what I'm saying. He has an adrenochrome factory. He has that much money. He could do that. You don't need billions to do that.
We know.
Fuck, is this is Nobody Cares Go Harder Conspiracy Cast Part 2. I'm sorry.
Or is this Drunk Driving on the Moon, the Patreon show for Oh No radio show, by the way? It's Conspiracy Cast. Either way. And we
tune into both those shows to find out whether or not The Rock drinks adrenochrome.
The answer is yes. And moving
on both shows.
Not moving on, but is what is the what is he gonna do? You think he's gonna relaunch it? Third time the charm with
it's not
XFL.
Just him, it's right.
It's him and his wife or his ex-wife.
No,
rather.
it's him and his it's a partnership there's multiple.
Him and his business partner, who is his ex-wife, that are major investors, and yes, some other. There's a firm, but I think the major 2 investors are him and his ex-wife.
Right,
and he would be the spokesman for it. Obviously.
But I think the bigger issue is that all anybody's talking about is the fact that it's The Rock bought the XFL when The Rock did not buy the XFL.
Right,
he's involved. I wonder if you end up doing something I don't know, and I could be wrong. Football is not my major forte to be able to be speaking on, but you look at baseball, and you have the minor leagues, you have AAA, things like that. So I'm looking at more I guess basketball, they have things in Europe, but that's not necessarily I guess it's more you couldn't make the cut in the NBA. I don't really know. But I guess I don't really know. I had a friend who's actually, his name is Patrick Ewing Jr. You may know his father, Patrick Ewing. Went to high school with him.
Is this a joke?
He got hired I went to high school with him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a real estate agent in DC now. But he went to Georgetown, but then he got hired. He played for the Knicks for a season or something like that. Didn't even get much. He was on the bench most of the time, right? It was maybe a season and a half at most, but then got cut. Then he went and played over in Europe. And I feel a lot of people, whether it's you make it to the NBA and get cut, or you don't make it to the NBA, or you spent so much time in the NBA, but you're retired but still trying to make money off basketball, you end up over in Europe in Central Bloc, Eastern Europe, playing basketball for Lithuania or something like that.
Right.
So now, but I guess that's what I'm saying. NFL and basketball mainly take people from college, right? You start scouting in high school, take people from college. So wrestling, we have indies, we've had NXT that became a developmental, things like that. Football, for as much as I know, doesn't really have that. So
football,
I wonder
football
if
takes from college.
So
football
I wonder
recruits
if
heavily from college. So
and I agree with what you're saying is that The Rock just because his name is on it is probably the reason that it's a big deal and that people are making a big deal out of it. So I'm not going to say The Rock is doing this, but it would be interesting if they then used it as this kind of like minor league. I mean, I know Vince was trying to like directly compete with and like, you know, but if you kind of tone it back and use it as developmental, you might be able to build that brand and make it worth a lot more money.
He's also got that football show on HBO, Ballers.
Right.
So weirdly, it can kind of play into that if they wanted to.
Yeah,
it could. I think, honestly, before COVID, the XFL relaunch was actually great. Like,
it was working.
Yeah,
it was working. It was gaining traction. Like, people were like, "Okay, I'm into it." It's
football,
different,
man. And
it
16 weeks of fucking football a year is not enough.
It was a lot better than the first time around. That's for damn sure. A lot better received for damn sure.
So I think that there is the potential there for it to come back when sports are allowed to come back.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, you could even do it in a sort of, I guess you could do it in an arena kind of model.
College football state, not even like in a,
I mean, like
arena football,
like an indoor soccer style where you can like throw the ball off the side of the fucking thing.
Oh, and bounce it off and shit.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that arena football had the boards running around.
Yeah, they did.
You know,
they had nets that you could bounce things off of and all sorts of shenanigans that were something like that. Yeah.
So I mean, like, there's a way to do it. I think that The Rock is smart enough with his money and investments, and his investment partners are smart enough that they see the potential for it to make a lot more money. I think you take Vince McMahon away from it, put The Rock as sort of like the face of it, and you're gonna attract more people automatically at this point.
Because 100%.
People take The Rock more seriously as an actor than they're ever going to take Vince as anything.
And he was a college football player too.
And more people recognize The Rock. Like,
exactly.
People know Vince McMahon's name, but like, generally speaking, as like a star, Vince McMahon is a fucking brilliant businessman in the wrestling business. Is that? But like, The Rock is a goddamn.
The Rock is a mega star.
I think, and you know, Dwayne, I know you're listening because you texted me earlier. It's really cool to get texts from The Rock.
That's cool.
But I just wanted to say that, like, you know, I know he's listening, but I think that you should maybe take the idea of the XFL, bringing it to like maybe kind of a AAA thing, building it, then do a crossover with your TV show, The Titan Games. So like when someone's running down the field with the ball, all of a sudden there's a net they got to climb up, and then they got to jump over a river.
Oh,
and fucking like, well, you know, like a bunch
it's American Ninja XFL.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, it's a giant
Can we bring in,
with...
as long as we bring in the American Gladiators tennis ball gun thing, can we bring that in?
I was going to say
no,
Olmec
The Rock
from
is the
Legend.
one shooting those.
And Olmec from Legends of the Hidden Temple. Yes, those both need to be in there, 100%.
And well, The Rock is the voice of Olmec, and he's also the he's also the one shooting the tennis ball. And they're also covered in Terramana tequila.
The Scorpion King games.
The Rock is President
How was
Camacho.
that not the name of his fucking tequila, Scorpion King?
Good point.
Right? And they put a little scorpion in it.
Dude, he is so the president from Idiocracy. He is President Camacho.
Yeah. So, okay, finally, I think we do need to address the last question that we've had from our group. And it's a good one because I already kind of had it down in my notes to talk about, and it's a great way, I think, for us to wrap up the show. But the Women's Tag Team Tournament on AEW just debuted. What are your guys' thoughts on it, and how do you think about, glad to see Tanya Conti. It's not Conti, is it?
Tony.
Conti? Tanira Conti? Something like that.
Tay. I just call her Tay Conti.
It's close enough. We know who we're talking about. Tay Conti, exactly. Yeah, so I was asked by our friend Kyle Deuce, of course, from
no, his name is just Deuce.
Hey,
Stop saying
you're right.
I'll interject here. Like I will say, I was gone for 2 weeks due to life and things like that. You guys kept the show going. I obviously was listening. Thought you guys had an amazing show. The first round, I fucking loved it. Was fully engaged the entire time. It was like there were moments I caught myself wanting to be like, oh yeah, like you guys are just like you're saying what I'm thinking at the, and other times I was like, oh, I wish I was like on just because I want to like be like, really, but what about this,
Sure.
You guys be like, fuck you, Matthew. But then also the show with Deuce, I will say, was fucking great. It was great to hear. It
was cool to have him on.
Somebody new on there, and I think it was a really awesome, positive show that you all had with him. And so, shout out to him for being on that show.
Yeah,
big filling the gap. A shout out to you guys for filling in multiple weeks. I mean, you did it without me before. You guys talked about the origin of No Wrestling, obviously on that show and stuff. You started, but it was good to again. That was something even the week before was good to hear.
Absolutely.
Was just the two of you talking about just how I started listening to this.
Yeah. Well, Deuce is, and I, until I did a little bit more like digging into it, he was like, "Can you please try and help me understand exactly what this AEW's Women's Tag Tournament is?" I will say to you, Deuce, that I don't think that there are tag belts. It's obviously now been established.
It's a trophy.
It's a trophy. So that's one thing that I know was questionable. He's like, is it going to be a part of Dark? Is it going to be a part of Dynamite? And that was addressed earlier today by Nyla Rose, or yesterday, I want to say, by Nyla Rose, who got a lot of criticism because people were kind of shooting down the fact that it seems like this tournament, and what the hell is the name of it? I had it pulled up. I've already
Tag Team Cup.
It's something.
The Deadly Draw.
Deadly Draw.
Deadly Draw.
The Deadly Draw. Yes. It's being done as primarily, I believe, a YouTube show. And Nyla Rose, kind of responded to criticisms because I think a lot of people that were fans of women's wrestling thought that this was might be a little bit of like an undercut to women's wrestling. And she's like, no. Think about this. This is a women's show that we've got with our own time slot. Yeah, it's not necessarily on cable television right now or what have you, but this is our own show that we have on our own thing as, and with our own commentator, with our own, with it, like making it its own intro, its own like package, if you will.
It's its own show.
And I think that, regardless of it being on YouTube or not, I agree with her. I think it's wonderful in that regard. And do I think that, they probably continue the show for the majority of the matches? Like now, we just started. We had 2 matches and a half, our 40-minute show on the first episode, which we'll get to in just a second. But moving forward, as this tournament progresses, will we end up, of course, I think, seeing a match here on Dynamite, or even then the culmination of it being on All Out? The timing seems to fit as well for them to be able to stretch it out that long. So I think that's the way they're going to do it. It's primarily going to be on the YouTube channel and then going to progress, as time goes further and further, bigger matches on Dynamite and so on.
I could definitely see that. I could definitely see it being the culmination being it All Out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that you need it to be its own show because they're already building towards there being another AEW show at some point. So you don't want to necessarily jump the gun up.
Well, Dark is already a YouTube only based show, so why not just do another?
But the thing is, why not do another? But the question is, then you then beg the question is, how many shows do you need to have without solidifying anything when there is so much content? So if you're doing Dark, so eventually, and I understand your logic and what you're saying, Owen, is like they start it here and then it eventually moves to Dark and then Dynamite and then that. But then why not just start it on Dark is my question, because it's like an 8 tag team. So like you don't have that many weeks to eventually get there unless you take weeks off. So you're asking, I think in their heart, maybe it's like because we're showcasing this, but they have bigger platforms to showcase it on. So they could tie it into, and not even necessarily Dark. Like AEW has gotten a lot of criticism for the way that the women's women have been handled. You know, Kenny Omega stands behind it. He's very firm in the way it's being done. I mean, you look at even what's her name, Abaddon. You know, she came from Rocky Mountain Pro Wrestling, dude. She used to be called Arigato in Rocky Mountain Pro. Then she became Abaddon. When I saw Willy Mac, she came out. That was the first time I saw her as that character. Then a few months later, I'm seeing her on that, and I'm reading an article, and Kenny Omega is talking about her. I'm like, really? Her? I'm like, out of that, right? It is that character that he goes on to. But I digress, because the whole thing, what I'm saying is they've already been judged on the way they're handling the women wrestlers.
It's
in
gotten
AEW.
so much better though, obviously, than when it started. It's night and day. They have grown.
But it makes me question what's happening with, like, when they're good, it's like peaks and valleys. I feel like when it's working, it's working. When it's not, it's not. You guys said it on, I forget who, on the last podcast. Oh, and then this person got hurt, and then this person got hurt, and like that has been the case. And you guys said that, I think, last week, and I agree with that. But at the same time, they are only working with. They have so much, and they're bringing in more people. And I mean, I guess we haven't even talked about Matt Cardona on this podcast, but you look at like that, and you look at Cody saying, you know, in a tweet 2 days earlier or something like that, before Matt Cardona comes out, saying like, no, I want to give people, you know, the younger talent the chance to rise up. Like, you know, there are names we would want to hire, but why would we do that? Granted, that could be a fucking work, could be a shoot on us, you know, the way he's saying it, and he knows what he's doing. Obviously, he's a fucking smart guy. But regardless, they've done it multiple times over, to the point that you do only have this much TV time. You are filling it. You're filling it well.
Right.
But there are a lot of things falling to the wayside. And the people who are maybe watching it on TNT are not necessarily trickling over to Dark, which are not necessarily trickling over to the women's tag fucking stream that you have going on your YouTube. That's like that offset that I get to.
There's a lot of people that have cable that don't stream. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people that don't.
Demographic, I suppose.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there's a ton of people that don't look at YouTube as that place where you go to watch shows. You go to YouTube to watch a minute-long clip of something.
Right. You don't go to watch a 30, 45 for an hour-long TV show.
Right, right. Like, most of us are conditioned now to being like, oh, my God, like, there's
that'll
hours.
Change. They're ahead of the curve on that, and as far as wrestling.
They will.
And with NWA being that way, with Impact being on Twitch, like, it seems like this is at least something that's moving forward.
I think that it, and that's the reason that I think that it'll stay on YouTube unless they potentially do the final at all.
Talk about the I think that makes sense, actually. When we were talking about Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman, you talk about the mixed tag, right? It's about as close. Also, we were talking about it was
Facebook Watch, wasn't it? It was all over Facebook Watch, I think, was the platform.
It was all over so it was this platform, which then we started talking about the Fiend and like what happened with Alexa Bliss, and it's like, no, it's kind of a deep cut, Team Little Big, right? Like, you have to be like a fan and had been watching and had been willing to go through and click and or have, you know, I guess YouTube, you don't have to have an account to watch. But, you know, I mean, Facebook, obviously, you probably had to.
Yeah, I couldn't watch it.
Yeah, I would think Zuck's trying to make some money. Got to put that zinc on your face. But regardless of that, like, I think that's kind of where I'm seeing that separation. I think the idea is good. I think the loyal fans are going to watch. We're going to watch. Other fans are going to watch. We're all going to pay attention because it's something we support.
But the
again,
casual fan.
The casual fan. And also, it's like Duncan said earlier, the way that when we were talking about what WWE has done with this Raw Underground, and no, maybe it's even Owen that like if AEW did it, matter. Like it wouldn't be But if WWE did
both
this,
of us,
dude, it'd be everyone would be like, "What the fuck are you doing? I'm not going to YouTube to watch WWE. Are you fucking joking me?"
Yeah.
Like I barely go on the network. I go on there to fucking watch fucking Undertaker
pay-per-view
documentaries.
Yep.
In a pay-per-view. Other than that, like the only other times I go on there is to like now watch like
what mud wrestling show bullshit is this?
You know what I'm saying?
It's on YouTube. It can't be good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that is the sort of the stigma that it has, right? Like WWE fans especially are not want to go to YouTube to watch. So like AEW fans are younger, they're hipper, they're more on the in touch with technology, right? So I think that there's so many. It was sort of like we brought up the point before. Matthew mentioned it earlier. They're filling the TV that they have. Shit, they're even filling the YouTube that they have with Dark.
Yeah.
And BTE. So obviously they can fill more content, but
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with it too. But I think that like it's good for this to be a short little showcase of, like tag team wrestling, and then they'll throw the clips on Dynamite, right? Like they'll 100%. Show a recap of what happened on it instead of having to watch the whole thing on
almost like Mae Young.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Mae Young Classic.
It's very much like that. And what's good about the way they did this first like intro episode, it's 2 matches, it's really digestible, it's 35 minutes or so. Like it's not.
It's Brandy putting herself over.
Brandy putting herself over with Allie, and and there were even a couple of other like storyline devices going on there. We introduced what we Tay Conti in this whole thing. So just to do that was pretty cool. And a neat way to, I don't know if she's signed full time to AEW or not. Probably not. Probably kind of just like, we're seeing how things go, as AEW is apt to do.
Sure.
But yeah, like it feels like a cool, like, oh great, I remember her from NXT, and like it didn't work out there, so now we get to see what it's like with her doing something in a different system and so on. So I like that they can use this to, much as Raw Underground could be used to build new talent, this can be used to build, new talent, and maybe not even new talent, but new talent to the casual viewer's eyes. And as time goes on, as people do kind of progress into, watching wrestling on YouTube and various forms of social media, it's got to be a thing that, is going to help in that regard. And yeah, like it's kind of got to be the future. I know the WWE is really interested in getting all of their social media stuff as high as they can. So, realistically, it's just one more thing. Oh shit. I lost you.
No, I'm here.
I got lost Matthews.
Oh no. What?
No, now it's back.
The dogs
it's back.
was drinking water. I put it on mute. So
it's good. I got it back. I got you both back now.
Bella. Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, everything is going that way. You look at all of any streaming. Everything is breaking off that way. Everything was these certain streaming services. Hulu, I guess YouTube has become more prominent recently, in the past 2 years, 3 years, I guess, as being a contender of that. You have Philo, you have Sling, you have all of these things. But you look at these packages, like cable packages, and Owen, I know you've talked about this on Ono radio show, like you still have cable and things like that. But then it's like now everything, like you could get these cable packages, and I've talked to you, I've done Sling to be able to get AEW, like all these things. But then you're like, now everything is segmenting out. Like NBC is planning on doing their own, and like this is planning on doing their. It's like
gets to a point it's almost as expensive to do all that as it was just to buy cable back in the
just to buy cable. Like it's probably more expensive, really, you know, like to get those things. So maybe YouTube is that way of doing it, and because of the way that YouTube has kind of had this surge in the past few years to actually become like an increasingly viable fucking competitor. I actually saw someone that I know and respect on fucking Facebook the other day, like just like looking through like the stream, and like I haven't talked to this person in years, and it was like, fuck Spotify, Sling, like Hulu, blah blah. Like I'm 100% everyone down, get on YouTube.
Yep, people are using it for their music. Everything. People are using it for like.
Yeah, he's like fuck all of that. Like just get it in your one and like so maybe it is ahead of the curve, like you're saying, and if they are ahead of the curve, good on them. And I'm not trying to be closed-minded on. I just am also thinking about. I guess the only thing I'm thinking about is like the women wrestlers, and like they are being showcased in one spot. I just don't want them to then lose any sort of, I don't know, mass appeal that they might be able to generate. But it makes sense that you would eventually bring it on. I think having the championship at Double or Nothing makes fucking complete sense. Or All Out, rather. Sorry.
I think that's a good way to do it. You end the tournament in that regard. I'll kind of wrap things up with this little tidbit, and I'm not sure if you heard this story about Tay Conti. She was talking about the plans for her in WWE and what was perhaps going to be her call-up. Did you guys read it or hear any about this?
I did not read it.
It was today. Mm-hmm. It was today that this all kind of came out. So apparently she was going to get called up to NXT, wrestle underneath a mask in the cruiserweight division, take off her mask after she won the cruiserweight championship, but the current cruiserweight champion wasn't cool losing to a woman. I got a theory on who this is.
Who do you think it was?
Austin fucking Aries.
Maybe. Was he cruiserweight champ at that time?
I would have to do some real deep dive in and but it fits sort of the timeline. I think
it would fit more with Neville. I think
it's right around the two of them though. Like it could be either or, couldn't it? Like it's because if it's not Neville, it's Austin, and if it's not either one of those, then it would have to be Enzo.
Yeah, that was my thought.
Enzo would have done it.
Yeah, Enzo
probably would have done it. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like that's an interesting thought because that was, I guess, one of the reasons that once that was kind of like pushed back upon by that cruiserweight champion, whoever it was, they didn't really have much planned for her, and she kind of sat on the bench and eventually got released.
It also goes into what we were saying as to would they allow intergender wrestling? You know, like are they going to allow so
maybe that was part of it too.
So say that happens and you have like a female in a mask. It's a whole Disney Channel original movies motocross type thing, you know, like the chick,
right.
yeah, that's a deep cut right there.
No, it
is a deep cut.
But regardless, like that's like what it is, and then they reveal themselves and they're like, I'm a fucking woman, and I beat you, like this type of shit. But regardless, you still had intergender wrestling, no matter like at the end.
Even
of that,
if we didn't know if it was intergender wrestling at the time, you still did it. Yeah.
Yeah. So then it's kind of, was it those people? Not saying it. I'm not fighting up for it because I don't know.
Sure.
I could actually see with Neville and Austin Aries. I don't know them personally, but I could see them being some bitches and like literally being like, no, I'm not letting that happen. You know.
Yeah.
But it might have been. I want to
say one or the other,
but
like, I'm like, no, both of them. But also,
but it might have been the company too, though.
But it might have been the company too.
Had second thoughts on the
company
idea.
May have been the out that they were able to give her and say we don't do that in intergender wrestling. But there may have been something more to it.
I agree. That being said, is there anything else that either one of you boys? We've done a long ass show. Is there anything else that either one of you boys want to bring up before we get out of here? It's fine if you don't. We've covered a lot, but
no, I'll just want to make sure.
Yeah, want to make sure.
We're happy to have you back.
Happy to have you back. Let's dance. Oh shit, my bad. 1 second, I fucked that one up. We'll dance our way out of here, boys. It's been great having all you in the same place again. It's always better, I think, when it's the three of us. It's like really what it needs to be. We loved having Kyle Dous on, but it's just not quite the same without Matthew. And, give out some plugs for him. Check out Happy Hour with Johnny and Deuce. He was kind enough to do our show. I did 3 episodes of his show this week, so you can hear that over there. A lot of it, too, will be involving Ono Radio Show and Ono Wrestling. We do a full wrestling episode on, I think it's going to be coming out next week. So, be prepared for that. Check out my show, Ono Radio Show, at onoradioshow.com. Check out your show at Nobody Cares Go Harder, Duncan Matthew. Fuck, what did we say when we get out of here, boys? Woo!